Hey, this is Ihab. In this video I'm going to show you how to create an interesting Playblast. Also go through the features or the important attributes of the Playblast, so just to make sure that you have the best quality. Also I'm gonna go through the process of making or showing you how to change the color of the wireframe, in addition to taking that Playblast into Photoshop and to show you how to make a GIF out of the turntable, and also how to have control over the file size of the GIF, and also how to make it loop forever. So here is the scene that I have. I have this turntable, and I'm also going to show you how to take out the eases on your animation, because right now if I play this, it has no animation. One thing that I don't like to have in my Playblast is a camera. I'm just gonna delete that. I don't need it. Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna select the father, which is the turntable here, and I'm gonna add it into a display layer. The color that I have on the display layer is going to become the color of the wireframe. So for instance, let's say I have something like blue, and hit save. Once I deselect, this is gonna become the color of the wireframe. And it's pretty cool because you get to go into making the color of the material maybe to kind of work in conjunction with that wireframe color. Maybe you can make this, I don't know, yellow if you must, pink if you have to. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep it for something simple. So you can see here now I have the blue color. Of course, it's really important that in addition to changing the color of the display layer, you must have the wireframe on shaded active. Otherwise, you won't see that color. Now, when I hit play, there's nothing going on. So what I need to do is to select the turntable, go into the very beginning of the timeline, and what I want to do is to animate it on the rotate Y. So at the beginning of the timeline, and then go into rotate Y, right mouse button, key selected, and then I would go all the way until 120, and then I type in 360, and then right mouse button, key selected to make sure it does animate. So you would notice that by default, usually the setting for Maya is going to be making the animation to loop really quickly. So what you need to do is to go right mouse button, playback speed, and then real time. And in this case, it's going to play exactly how it's supposed to play within those 120 frames. Let me just readjust the camera so it's not touching the frame. Okay, that looks good, I guess. Okay, that's good enough. The other thing is that it's, the eases on the turntable makes it annoying to look at for more than one loop, and that's why we always take out the eases on it. So if I go into panels and then go into panel, and then I would go into the graph editor. This is the curve of the animation on the rotate Y. If I select that curve and then go into this button here, that's gonna straighten it. Now when I go to the main view, when I hit play now, you will notice that it plays at a constant speed, and that makes the turntable to be looking better, especially when you want to look at it for multiple loops, and you don't really get bored of it, because once you have the eases, it would just become really kind of like gives you a headache over few turns. So now that I'm ready to Playblast this, what I need to do is, of course, if you want to take off the wireframe, you can just do this, but in addition to the wireframe, I would also recommend in Maya clicking on this button, which is going to activate the ambient occlusion, and you might want to render a Playblast with that ambient occlusion, and that ambient occlusion is called screen space ambient occlusion. and it's giving me some errors here. I think I have some issues with the normals, but it's fine. I'm just gonna take out the ambient occlusion so it's not showing all of these issues, because I'm happy with it this way, and I'm just gonna turn on the wireframe. So right mouse button, go to the option box of the Playblast, and then here I would make sure that it has 100% quality and then the scale at 1, and then I would go here and specify where I want that file to be, and I can hit browse and then name it wherever I want, BMW Playblast PB or peanut butter maybe. It would go into the movies by default, but I can just hit on this desktop and then hit save and then Playblast. I always go with the resolution gate, which is here, because if you don't go with the resolution gate and you play the Playblast, first of all, you don't really know exactly how the framing of your Playblast is. The other problem is that you get to see the let me just do it this way here. Yeah, you get to see the gizmo, the X, Y, and Z, and the name of the camera, and also the resolution. By activating the resolution gate, you just crop it this way, and then later on I would crop that in a video editing software, whatever that is. This way I would make sure that my Playblast looks professional. And now once I hit Playblast, it's gonna do that, and what I'm gonna do next is taking that into Photoshop. So right now this is the video. I'm just gonna take that into Photoshop, and I'm not gonna crop it. I don't really care about cropping it. You know, I'm just gonna go Control O to open, and then go into the desktop, and then in the desktop I'm gonna go and open where the video is. So it takes a while to import that video into Photoshop, the saving for web. So I skipped that part just to kind of jump into this process instead of making you wait along with me. So what I'm gonna do now is going into this corner here, and you can see like it's 34 megabytes per 0.3. If you change the percent, let's say 50%, that's gonna make it 50% of the resolution, of the full resolution, and therefore it should reduce the size of the resolution, and therefore it would reduce the file size. So I'm just gonna keep it to 100, because if I click on OK for changing it to like much lower, it takes a good amount of time, about like a minute or two, just to kind of resize. But that is something that is up to you, depends on how small or big you want the GIF to be. And the last thing I want to show you is making sure that you have a loop forever, and that's gonna ensure that your GIF, when you put it on online or something, or maybe in a presentation, it would just keep looping forever, because if you have this looping once, then it would only loop once. Okay, so that was the process for making a turntable of an object with a beautifully colored wireframe based on your liking, and also the features or the tools or the things that you need to change in the Playblast. Also, I went through the taking out the eases from the animation, and also as a reminder of showing you how let me go here in Maya just to recap from there, showing you also how to make sure that it plays on real time, just, you know, so you don't freak out. Sometimes you put the animation exactly based on a good calculation of frames, but it goes really fast, so you want to make sure you always go here and change that in real time. And also another thing that a lot of people miss out on is that sometimes you just hit S to do the animation. If you want to be be very specific with only one channel without really worrying about too many animation in your graph editor, you can just right mouse button and hit key. And finally, keep in mind that it's really important to use the resolution gate, because you get to avoid having the gizmo showing the XYZ and the name of the camera and also the resolution. And of course, right after you make the Playblast, you need to crop that video, and then you send it into Photoshop, and then in Photoshop you hit Ctrl-Alt-Shift-S, and then you do the settings that I just showed you. Okay, I hope this helps.